Hello and welcome back to my channel. I joined Bookstagram recently. It's been a lot of fun so far, actually. As expected, Bookstagram, it's a lot of posts and reels about books, writing, and bikers. Yeah, bikers as in people who ride motorcycles. So I'm not sure if over here in YouTube land, if you have heard, but on TikTok and Instagram, bikers and book people are converging, okay? Bikers and people who read, what do they have to do with one another? Well, apparently a lot. Now, that's not to say that bikers don't read and like a reader can't ride a bike, but both communities in the most general, stereotypical way are very different from each other. Perceptions of the people within each group are different. Bikers are also outside often, and readers are typically stereotypically inside. I like to be outside, I like reading outside, but the point is, on the surface, these two communities and hobbies should not go together, but surprisingly they do. Though I will say this crossover between bikers and book people is often more beneficial for the biker than it is for the book reader. The bikers are growing their audience, and I've seen so many accounts of bikers like going from in the thousands to tens of thousands, but I don't see any bikers following book people. I don't see any bikers following any book accounts. Like, if we want to have a little bit of a laugh, we can say that, you know, the benefit for the book lovers, the book people, is that they get hot people to follow. Yeah. So I tried to do my research as best as I could for this to, you know, give good information. According to, I know your meme. This is where I got the source from. The earliest known BookTok BikerTok crossover video was posted on September 3rd, 2023, with TikToker at Mimosas and Metaphors gathering over 50,000 views and 11,000 likes on a post showing a masked biker reading trendy BookTok novels. And then on September 13th, TikToker at Tinted Blue, who I follow, listen, they got me too, okay? So TikToker at Tinted Blue posted a thirst trap pandering to BookTok, gathering over 79,000 plays and 14,000 likes in 3 months. To add, I don't know when this started happening, but I do know that there's this thing called mask talk, which was and is also getting popular with BookTok, and it's people who wear masks, literally, like ghost face, things like that. You've probably seen the videos, and it's basically like a kink. And you know, bikers typically in their videos, they wear their helmets, so it kind of connects to people who have this mask kink, which again, I'm not going to get into the whole mask talk thing, but there's also a connection there. So I cannot remember my first bike talk video, although I feel like it probably is, and I'll put the video in this video again. It was a reel of a guy who put books in like a little library. The caption was like, he's setting a trap for the book girls. It was a joke, it was funny, I liked it, I followed him. But after that, it was just reel upon reel of bikers for me, and I have yet to escape them. They're everywhere. But of course, with all these bikers, I'll show you them all. I've been saving them. When I got when I got the idea to do this video, I started mindfully saving the biker book talk videos. There's a lot, there's so many. Maybe these guys, and it's mostly straight guys that I've come across, but maybe these guys are genuinely and truly into girls whose idea of a fun time is lying in bed in a sweatshirt while she sweats under the covers while reading a book. Maybe that is their kind of girl, but I don't think that bikers are opening up dating applications. Obviously, what's really happening is that it's a way to gain an audience. I don't fault them for that. It's really smart, actually, and to appeal to women. Once you curate and obtain that audience with women, you got yourself a little fan base. Initially though, I do think that this whole BookTok, BikerTok thing. I think it did start initially as plain curiosity. So, and this comment that I saw on a reel on Instagram corroborates this belief. This person said that the bikers didn't actually come out of nowhere. We kind of invited them over. Because every time a biker posted anything, some of us book girls would comment Tristan Kane vibes. On one hand, the creators would get curious and ask who Tristan Kane was. On the other hand, more and more biker content was shown to the book girlies who commented, so that is how we ended up here. It in fact happened very gradually, because the first biker reel with BookTok comments that I had come across was almost 1.5 years ago. So I don't know what this video and comment was that was 1.5 years ago, 1.5 years ago, but I'll take their word for it. But so in the comment, she said that book girlies on TikTok were commenting on bikers' videos saying Tristan Kane vibes. So who is Tristan Kane? Okay, I have to get my Kindle now for this. Tristan Kane is a character from a book called The Predator by RuNyx in a series called Dark Verse. It is a dark romance, although I will be quite honest. I mean, like, I haven't read Haunting Adeline. I know that gets pretty wild, so, you know, that's dark romance. This one, I don't know. Okay. The dark romance thing is kind of largely this genre, which is obviously, we know what romance is, but dark romance is dark, twisted. There's things that happen that are not only morally gray, but sometimes just like straight up wrong. But this genre is largely responsible for leading BookTok and BikerTok to each other. So here's a synopsis for The Predator. What happens when an unstoppable force meets an immovable object in the field of death? Who is the unstoppable force and the immovable object? That's what I want to know, because I read this book. Who? Anyway, so in the dark underbelly of the mob, Tristan Kane has been an anomaly. As the only non-blooded member in the high circle of the Tenebrae outfit, he is an enigma to all. His skills unparalleled, his morally questionable, his skills unparalleled, his morality questionable, and his motives unknown. He is lethal and he knows it. As does Morana Vitalio, the genius extraordinaire, daughter of the rival family. What Kane does with weapons, Morana does with computers. When a 20-year-old mystery resurfaces, Morana infiltrates Kane's house intent on killing him, unaware of a tie that binds them together. Hate, heat, and history clash together with unexpected sparks. But something bigger, something worse is happening in their world, and despite their animosity, only they can fight it down. As I was writing this script, I realized I'm gonna have to read this book. This is not on my list. It's crunch time, okay? It's 2023. 2023 is about to end. I have books already planned for what I want to read. I'm currently reading The Golden Compass, which not even 100 pages in, and I already really like it. So, but I'm gonna reread another book. I'm listening to The Fellowship of the Ring on Audible, and I want to read a stupid novella, a smutty novella to close out my year. I really want to read them. So it was not my plan to read this book. And I was kind of worried because I was like, if this takes up my whole entire reading time for December, why would I do this to myself? I read this within, it had to have been under 24 hours. I downloaded the book because I wanted to know and understand. I didn't want to go based off of somebody's reviews or whatever. Like I wanted to understand. And I'm going to talk about it now to let you get an idea of it. I'm not going to go like crazy into the plot, like beat by beat. So to start off the book, we have a quote from Nietzsche. When you gaze into the abyss also gazes into you. I don't know. It's not like that. I don't want to say it's not that serious. I mean, there's serious stuff that happens in the book. The book, it's not the best writing I've ever read. So it doesn't feel like sharp enough, solid enough to carry the weight that it wants to carry. Does that make sense? I will say there's a plot in this book. It is not only smut, which I was disappointed by. I thought there would be more sex scenes. There were 2. So the book opens up in Tenebrae City. The book is set in a fictional location. I don't even know if it's America, because Tristan at one point said like bloody, and so I'm not entirely sure where it's supposed to be, but it's a fictional city, Tenebrae City, 1985. We open with a chapter called The Alliance. This is essentially the prologue. We have 2 families who are rivals, 2 mafia families. This is a mafia romance. We have 2 families who are rivals. They have been rivals for over a decade, and they decide that their rivalry is bad for business. They decide to call a truce, make an alliance with each other. So we have Shadowport, which is one gang. The other one is Tenebrae Outfit. The Tenebrae leader, he opens the trunk of his car, and in this trunk, not more than 8 years of age. In the back, they've been kidnapped. And then the 2 leaders of the rival gangs, they're like, to the future, and the other one's like, to the future, and then they have the alliance. I mean, I'm sure it'll come up later in the other books. I read this entire thing. I still don't really know why these 2 girls were kidnapped. I'm sure it does come up later in the other books. I still don't know. The first chapter, Morana is the protagonist. So she is at this mansion and there's a party going on. So the Shadowport gang and the Tenebrae Outfit, they did have an alliance, but this alliance fell through. It broke. So Morana is the daughter of the leader of the Shadowport gang, and she is invading this party that is being held by the Tenebrae Outfit. So obviously she is in enemy territory. We get descriptions of Dante the Wall Moroni, who is the son of Lorenzo Bloodhound Moroni, the leader of the Tenebrae Outfit. And then on page 4, we immediately meet Tristan Kane, and his name, let me look it up. His full government name will be said 219 times, and we get his description. Morana took him in. He stood tall, just an inch or so shorter than Dante, in a casual 3-piece black suit sans the tie. His dark blonde hair was almost a dark brown, blonde or brown. His eyes a light color from the distance. And then she tells us about his reputation. He's Tristan the Predator Kane. He's called the Predator because he rarely went on the hunt, but when he did, it was over. When he did, he went straight for the jugular. No distractions, no playing around. For all his unruffled attitude, the man was more lethal than the knife cutting into her thigh. She has a knife on her. He was also the reason she had come to the party. She was going to kill Tristan Kane. So she believes she wants to kill Tristan Kane because, and I'll read from here, it all started as a dare from her ex-boyfriend, not that anyone knew about him. Being a developer himself, he had challenged her to create the most complex set of codes she could. Being a sucker for dares that she was, she had succumbed. Those codes were her Frankenstein, a powerful monster that went wrong out of her control. They could digitally deface anyone, extract out every dirty secret from the deepest parts of the web, and destroy entire governments, entire mobs, if it were to fall into the wrong hands. They had fallen into the worst hands possible. Her asshole of an ex, Jackson, had stolen the codes when she was done 3 weeks ago and disappeared. It was when she'd started to track him that she discovered Jackson had actually been sent to get close to her by the outfit. More specifically, Mr. Kane. How he'd learn about her skills in the codes, she didn't know. So yeah, she believes that Tristan has these codes that she created. I was just looking it up on Reddit, and people were saying, well, this one person said that codes plural, like just using that word, is not correct. I'm just repeating what's written, so I'm gonna say codes. But yeah, so she's at this party to get her codes back and kill Tristan. She follows Tristan to his room, and a guard stops her on her way. So she takes out the guard with a vase and then manages to get into Tristan's room. He is undressing to take a shower, I think, or whatever, I don't know. And she notices that he's got abs. And then so she's able to sneak up on him. She pulls out a knife on him. And one of my issues with this book is that they're people that live a very dangerous life, right? But sometimes they carry guns and sometimes they don't. And it's like obviously very convenient for plot reasons that sometimes they don't have guns. So she infiltrated this party in enemy territory. She only has like 2 knives on her. So she pulls out a knife on him. He's able to disarm her and he spares her life and gets her to leave. So second chapter, she goes, her ex-boyfriend Jackson, he texts her that he wants to meet up with her, and she thinks that he's going to help her get the codes or give her the codes back. And Marana, she believes like, okay, this is supposed to be a trap. She goes anyway on her own with, I think she has a gun this time. She calls it a Beretta, which I had no idea what that was. Apparently it's a gun. So Jackson wants to meet her at this like warehouse, and when she goes, eagles, dozens of them, circling the building again and again, calling to each other, the cacophony of their voices lost in the flap of their wings against the wind. Dusk was setting in, and they kept circling the tall building, telling Marana one thing about the structure. It was no ordinary construction site. Somewhere on the premises was a corpse. She looked up at the birds, at their number, more than one corpse. I'm like, why not vultures? Like, but then I looked it up, and I guess eagles can eat dead animals. Is there a zoologist watching this? Is that accurate? Like, would eagles be like circling a building if there's a dead body inside? Is that like a thing that happens? I was trying to look it up and I don't know. I need somebody to confirm or deny that for me. So she gets to this building, her boyfriend Jackson, he wants to meet up. He set up this trap for her. He ends up dying, but Tristan and Dante are there and they want to make a deal with her because remember from the first chapter, she thought that Tristan had the codes and Tristan is like, I don't got the codes. And Dante is they're not related, but they are as close as they can be. They're basically brothers. They want to cut a deal to work together to get these codes, I believe. And I'm trying not to go completely into the plot because this is not a plot breakdown, but I made a lot of notes. So one night Marana is just in her room and Tristan breaks in to her room. He's able to get in past a whole bunch of guards. Why are there no cameras? But anyway, so Tristan breaks into her room. He wants to make sure that Marana, Tristan, and Dante, the 3 of them, that they're the only ones that know about these codes. We don't know who has the codes. Somebody has them, but we don't know. Tristan, he wants Marana to work with him and Dante to, I think like she brings up the word failsafe. So I guess to come up with a failsafe. I think the thing with the codes is very loose. They're worried that it'll get into the wrong hands and take down the gangs, cause a war, I don't know. So Marana ends up meeting, outside of her father's knowledge, Dante and Tristan and a woman named Amara. And I don't think anything comes about this except for the fact that Marana gets drugged. Oh, so this club that she meets Tristan and Dante in, I think I don't know if it's in the Tenebrae territory, but it is frequented by people of the Tenebrae outfit. And so she's once again in enemy territory. And I'm confused because sometimes she says people don't know who she is, but then somehow somebody knows who she is because she gets drugged. And then Amara ends up having to drive her car. They're taking her home. Marana was passed out. She wakes up in her car and she's like, I want to drive my car. I feel good enough to drive my car. Get out my car, bitch, so that I can drive my car. And Marana's driving herself home and there is a SUV tailing her. So as she's driving, Marana, this is when the bike enters the story. It is page 91, and we've got Tristan on a motorcycle, guys. Marana glanced at the rear view mirror again to see a bike careen on the road dangerously as the rider throttled. Marana pulled to the side, giving him the space to pass. She doesn't know who's on the bike yet, but she's being a courteous driver to this mysterious biker. The bike got close and closer to them, and the moment Marana thought it would pass, the most bizarre thing happened. The bike swerved and inserted itself in the space between her car and the SUV. What the hell? She should just dub this entire night, "What the hell? Was the rider insane? This could be a catastrophe!" Exclamation point. Marana pulled to the edge of the road again, just a few miles out of her property, and turned around to look at the disaster about to happen, except it didn't. The rider pulled out a gun from his back with one hand while maintaining both the speed and balance with the other impressively. He did a total 180 completely on the empty road facing the oncoming SUV. He raised his gun as Marana watched, enthralled, heart thundering, and pointed it to the front tire. A shot fired and the SUV skidded before braking suddenly. The bike stopped too, facing away from her towards the beast of a vehicle like it was a beast in itself. The rider kept his arm raised, pointed at the vehicle, his dark helmet on. Marana looked at the white shirt stretched taut across his muscular back and tucked into dark trousers. She looked at the sleeves rolled up, sinews and muscles of his forearm with the hints of tattoos peeking out. The other free hand on the handle of the big bike. Her neck started aching from being turned around, but she didn't remove her eyes, didn't even blink, her heart racing at the scene. Everything was still. The SUV, the bike, the rider, completely. Almost as though in a silent duel, a showdown she didn't understand a thing of. But she could feel the tension rolling in the air, thick and heavy and ready to explode at a moment's notice. Everything was still except for her heaving chest. Whoever the rider was, she was rooting for him. There was something dangerous about the way he'd held himself in motion, something even more dangerous about the way he held himself in the stillness. The SUV whirred, the rider didn't twitch. The vehicle reversed quickly, his back muscles tensed. And with the bad tire, Marana saw in complete and utter disbelief as the vehicle turned and drove away at a breakneck speed. If she had $1 for every night, she thought, what the hell? The rider stayed still for a moment until the SUV disappeared from sight, before revving his bike and turning it back towards her. Marana turned her neck back as he drove forward, stalling beside the car. She looked up at the intimidating size of the bike and the man riding it, being cautious and never rolling the windows down. He might have interceded in between her would-be creepy maybe murderer, but she didn't know him, and she had enough what the hell moments for one night. The man raised his hand up to his helmet, and Marana's eyes moved to the ropes of muscles and veins running under his exposed forearms. The tattoo swirls familiar, something fluttery happening inside her stomach as she watched it flex. I'm reading too much. Anyway, so it's Tristan. I forget exactly. She ends up going to his apartment, I think. Okay, yeah, she ends up going to his apartment, and he comes into the parking lot on his bike again, and when he takes off his helmet, he looks happy, and she's surprised because the man doesn't show a lot of emotion. I forget why. She's in his apartment and he's cooking chicken. It kind of bothers me that he took a pack of frozen chicken out from the freezer and started wanting to cut it. She stays at his house. Is this after? I don't know. I can't remember. She was at his apartment one time. She went home and her father threw her down the steps, so she leaves her house completely and ends up going to Tristan because that's the only place that she knows of. She doesn't have any friends. I don't remember. I don't know how people do these plot breakdowns. I watch Carrie Can Read on YouTube, and she does these plot breakdowns so well, and I'm over here like, I don't know. So I think all of that, the father throwing her down the steps, I'm pretty sure that happened after this. So they have this place, her and her father, that they go to, or not just her and her father, but the gang, the mafias, all the mafias, I guess, all the gangs.
The gang's all here.
They go to this place called Crimson, and she just sits there with a group of his men, and they're handsy with her and really inappropriate. So this is the first sex scene, and it's actually, I don't mind it. Something happens with some jerk at the table. She leaves, goes to the bathroom. So he comes into the bathroom and he's like, I don't like you, but I just want to get you out of my system. He's obviously attracted to her. And she's like, okay. She locks the door and it's like, decision made. And I'm like, here we go. I got so excited. It was hard for me, but once we got to the sex scene, I was like, yes. So it's not like crazy or anything. Like they don't, he doesn't do anything wild. He puts her on the counter and they get to go in. When she leaves the bathroom, they kind of try to be discreet about it, but you can only be so discreet about it. And her father, he realizes something's going on between Tristan and his daughter. I think this is where he throws her down the stairs. So then she goes to Tristan's apartment and it's like, because she has nowhere else to go, and she just stays there. And I will say, I do like how Tristan, because she's fucked up, right? She got thrown down the steps. And Tristan's like, do you need a doctor? But he texts her because that's like what they do. He just messages her a lot. Sometimes they'll be in the same room and they text. He's actually really nice to her when she's staying with him. And I do appreciate actually in this book, I don't know what happens in the other two books, but in this book, he's not like grossly controlling. But anyway, stays with him. And that's what it is. They have sex again in the shower. So as she stays with him, obviously there's an attraction growing. Does the bike enter again? Oh yeah, she does ride on the back of his bike. The phrase feminine appreciation was used because the way he gets off his bike, at least once, he swings his leg over the handles to get up. But she rides on the back of his bike. She likes the feeling of it. Oh, I think to get on, he put his legs over the handles. So I don't know if that's like something that people can actually do. I feel like that would be, I'm trying to imagine how that would look. But yeah, no, I'm not gonna get into like the crazy, there's a lot of flaws. Wait, he fingered her. They had sex. And then he fingered her, right? Okay, they had sex. And then, so she had left her father's house and she's going to stay with Tristan, right? But she's like, I need my things because they're trying to do this stuff with the codes, like the failsafe and stuff. So she needs her computers and all that stuff. So he and Dante and whatever, they break into her father's house to get her things. And then when they're on the grounds, he fingers her. So then later on, she's in the shower and they actually have sex. So there's 3 sex scenes, actually. There's 3 or 5 books in the series. So yeah, that's it. Tristan does not talk a lot, but I will say, I get it. I always get it. Like, I understand. I see why people, like Tristan. I think there's more in the other books. It seems like people really like the second one. I didn't want to read the second one, but I might because curiosity. Tristan as a character, I didn't like particularly feel like one way or the other really about anybody. But yeah, so apparently this book was the book reader's sexual awakening when it comes to motorcycles. Was it this though, or was it Sons of Anarchy? I don't know. I've never been like the person that's into motorcycles. This did not awaken anything in me regarding motorcycles. Something has already been awoken inside of me, okay? Like, it already has been because of Instagram. So this book was my first dark romance. It was my first mafia romance. I've never been into the mafia thing either. It just doesn't interest me. I've read erotica, so I'm not opposed to smut or anything like that. it doesn't do it for me. Blue Aliens doesn't do it for everybody, but it does for me. So like, I will always bring up the Blue Aliens as my like defense, because I want people to know I'm not a snob. I'm not judging you for what you like particularly like. We all have different tastes. This book is, I believe, self-published. and it is clearly wildly popular. When I wrote this script, I was like, I'm not gonna read more, but I might read more. But I will say I don't care about the codes. I don't care about the codes. I don't know who has them. I don't know what, I mean, I guess I know what they do, but like I don't care. I want more sex. But apparently there's less of that, and there's not less of that, but apparently there's not just sex. There's like really sweet, intimate moments, which I love also. I like sweet and wholesome moments too. I'm not just all about the smut. So yeah, I'm really not like I'm not heavy on the smut. Like I read more fiction without it, but if I'm gonna read something that's a little kind of out there, I guess like I want it to be really out there. But I can see the appeal. If something has a large following, you know, I've seen people say just because a book or whatever is really popular, that doesn't mean it's good. And that's true. But if something has a large following, you have to wonder why. Clearly it fulfills something for people. And yeah, we all have different tastes. I don't think that Tristan was a bad character. He didn't like talk a lot. He really didn't talk a lot. And the bike appears 3 times in a 358 page book. But again, you know, I haven't read the whole entire series yet. I'm sure that there's more that I need to read and experience for myself. So I've told you about the book, I've told you about Tristan. From this book and with this character, you had book people, primarily the book girls, going to bikers' TikToks and commenting about this character. And as they say, the rest is history. And as TikTok and Instagram kind of sort of have a connection, like for example, I see trending and viral TikToks on Instagram Reels. This BookTok, BikerTok merge made its way to Instagram. And it sounds like it's funny, it's fun, it's relatively harmless. I feel like I can't talk about this BookTok, BikerTok thing without talking about the controversy that happened not very long ago. I've heard about this from other booktubers that I watch and follow, and I had no idea this had anything to do with the BookTok, BikerTok thing. Here we go. Okay, so October 31st at jezz.b posted a video making a joke that having a bike was going to get him girls. His statistics on TikTok proved otherwise. And then a commenter said that it's because BookTok hasn't found you yet. And so in response to this comment, at jezz.b responded showing a collection of books. So he showed The Maze Runner and The Hunger Games, and then said that those were the only books that he owned. So if you live under a rock, you might not know that The Hunger Games is a dystopian series, but The Maze Runner is in the same vein. It came out around that time when dystopian fiction was all the rage. The Maze Runner is in the same vein as Hunger Games, where it's a dystopian novel with a group of young people, as a group of teenagers typically, but also just, you know, can be even younger than that. And they are the core cast working to fight against an oppressive power. After this video, the BookTok girls were like, oh my god, he likes books. And they started responding with book recommendations, which is wonderful. The problem is that there were comments suggesting that he reads smut. So if a 16-year-old wanted to pick those kind of books for themselves, that is on their parents to deal with. That's not my business. I've seen like people say that when they were younger, they had their parents sign a note to give to the library that they could read whatever they wanted. And that's a personal family thing, and that has to do with like these book bans and stuff. Like you can't control what other people read. You can't control what every kid reads or consumes. That is for their parents to do that. So yeah, if this kid wanted to read all the smutty books that he wants, and that's his personal business. To recommend him smut, I don't think that people need to be ashamed of what they read. And I don't think that reading erotica or romance is something that has to be talked about in secret, or something that you do on the down low, or something that's embarrassing. It's not weird to read those books and enjoy those books, and to even necessarily talk about them, but like in the right context. And to clarify, he wasn't even looking for recommendations. He was just showing the books that he has. He was not looking for recommendations. It was unsolicited. But the thing is, the books that he showed in the video, They were YA dystopian novels. Why would you start recommending smut? That's like somebody being like, my favorite movie is The Matrix, and somebody being like, oh, you like The Matrix? So there's this porn. So I was scrolling through this first video where this kid was showing the books that he likes and has read, the books that he owns. I was looking for the comments that were being inappropriate, and at first I couldn't find them. It was more people chastising those people. But I found someone on December 4th who recommended the Twisted series by Anna Huang, which I know to be spicy. So I came across that comment and I was like, okay, I'm not going to be able to find the ones that were worse. But the more that I started scrolling, I came across them, and it was just like, honestly, some of it is just really annoying and ridiculous. Like, there are people that were like, I took some screenshots. Somebody said, try haunting Adeline. People started saying, he don't know, ... You guys want to tell him? Or somebody's like, he has no idea. Somebody said, oh, you sweet summer child. That is not what BookTok reads, you innocent baby. First off, not everybody is reading smut. That's not what BookTok reads. What are you talking about? That is so stupid. Somebody said wrong books. He's just showing the books that he owns, the books that he likes. Like, what do you mean? He wasn't necessarily even I don't. Damn it. Fucking shit. Reading comments of people saying this is not what BookTok reads. What do you mean? It's not only smut. It's like, I guess some of my issues with this concept, like, away from this, people have their preferred genres, and if you want to read all the erotica and smut that you want, like, that's perfectly fine. But don't make it seem like people who are readers and people who are on like are in certain communities of readers, that they only specifically read a certain type of book. But anyway, it's one thing to suggest. So this kid, he has his age in his bio, and not everybody necessarily looks at that. But again, at the same time, why are you suggesting random people that you don't know to read smutty books? Not even smutty books, but books that are like traumatizing. I said this in another video also. I enjoy the Ice Planet Barbarian series, but I read the books specifically because I saw a TikTok video about it, and I thought it sounded like such a ridiculous premise. I was like, I have to read it. I got it on my Kindle, I opened the book, and there's a trigger warning for a rape scene. And nobody on TikTok was like, oh, by the way, if you decide to read this book, there's a very graphic rape scene in like the first couple of chapters. Nobody said anything. You don't know what people have gone through. Why are you just recommending these books that could be potentially traumatic to people and not just giving like a little heads up? Because when I got the book, I had bought it. I was able to read it. It was hard to read, and it's disturbing. I was so curious that I was like, well, I really want to read this, but I was like, do I return it? Like, what do I do? Because I didn't know this was in the book. So, but obviously I ended up reading it. But yeah, it's just kind of like, it's one thing to recommend smut, but then to recommend things like Haunting Adeline and stuff, which I've not read, but I've heard is pretty wild. That's not something that you just like casually throw out to people. He showed dystopian books. There's The Giver, I guess. I read that in school. I haven't read that since school. I don't even know if that's something that I would recommend, but people were recommending like the Shadowhunter series, Shadow and Bone. Like, those make sense. Away from the comments suggesting smut, there are people who were alluding to the fact that BookTok is not innocent. They were saying things like, protect him. We gotta keep this one innocent. I like that we all agreed on keeping this soul innocent. We need to protect this one at all costs because he's not ready. Let's keep this pure, please. We keep this one innocent. Again, the one that was like, oh, you sweet summer child. BookTok, keep this one innocent, please. What a sweet angel baby. The innocence is adorable. Adorable. Look for more feral books. That's BookTok. All these comments, like, the more I was reading them, they were visibly, like, I couldn't see my face, but I felt it. I was visibly grimacing as I was reading them. Let's be so 100% real right now that if these comments were from grown men to like a 16-year-old girl, people would be up in arms, and rightfully so. I found an article by Kaylee Donaldson that explains it really well. Donaldson writes, literary lovers on TikTok have proven themselves to be a publishing force to be reckoned with. Fans have managed to use their might to make multiple books massive bestsellers through word of talk alone, and elevated many self-published titles to the traditional leagues. At its best, BookTok, which is a disparately connected series of communities rather than a monolith, yes, can be a great place to bond over the beauty of the written word. At other times, as with all online fandoms, it can be a total mess. As I said, Jezzy.B is a 16-year-old on TikTok whose videos are mostly dedicated to his motorcycle. After posting a video of himself with the Hunger Games books, showing them as something he likes to read, some BookTokers found him and latched onto him hard. His TikToks went up in viewership numbers tenfold, and the comments sections were full of women who were admittedly old enough to be his mother making some deeply inappropriate comments. One video shows him reacting to the comment, "BookTok, not this one, keep him innocent," with the header, "I'm so confused." Some comments were leering and clearly sexualized in tone. Others started recommending he read dark romances rather than YA. One commonly recommended book was Haunting Adeline by H.D. Carlton, a widely popular dark romance that became a hit via BookTok. This novel contains content warnings for graphic violence, rape, child trafficking, and degradation. The author herself has noted repeatedly that the book is not for children. Fortunately, a lot of people pushed back against these commenters, calling out their inappropriate behavior towards a literal minor. There's another strain of faux mama bear, "oh, we will protect you," our little golden retriever defenses that I'm not exactly eager to support either. Just because you're not sexualizing this kid, that doesn't mean trying to shoehorn yourself into his online life as an adult figure is more justifiable. So what this incident has further proven is how the malleability of online boundaries and willful misunderstanding of consent can lead to a whole lot of mess. We saw this with the Seattle Kraken drama, where a bunch of tax-paying adults thought it was okay to barrage a man with sexual demands on and offline because he was famous, and it was apparently a job oh my god, this is a long-ass sentence. And it was apparently a job requirement, even when he repeatedly said he didn't like it. There's certainly a prevailing attitude in fandoms of all kinds that you can do or say whatever you want on the internet, even if it's directly towards your fan interest, because it's not real life. The BookTok issue also drives home the ways that many women replicate the worst excesses of patriarchal cruelty and believe it's subversive because the genders have been swapped. The bottom line is that the comments weren't appropriate. Like, they just weren't appropriate. I have to find a way to like segue properly into the end, but this is the end. It's mostly been biker guys appealing to the book girls. So, and it's been really interesting and really funny, and I totally fell for it. I follow, who do I follow? I follow a girl biker. I didn't know that. Oh, I think that's a black girl. Okay. I follow 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I follow them with the knowledge that I know that these guys were specifically trying to appeal to book girls to grow their following. But, you know, I'm not complaining because I do love the videos. So there's not much else to add on for this video. I just wanted to talk about this very weird trend that strangely works when people are behaving themselves. I do wish that it was a mutually beneficial relationship. I wish that bookstagrams were growing in this process. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will see you sometime soon. One day the video will be about what? Don't know. But it'll be something, and I hope you enjoy it. And yeah, goodbye. I tell my friends I'm okay. I'm okay. Not the type to cry, I'd rather hide instead of show you what I'm feeling. But I won't lie to you tonight.